Those are the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Tuesday episode of Running Point on YSNLive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. I'm Anthony Hartwig, and isn't it just a lovely day that Ty's having some power issues on his end? So for now, it's just me, but we will venture on and we will truck on like we always do on Running Point. We have a great show for you scheduled today. As Ty's trying to pop in. Ty,
We might be
God,
rolling
it's
the
the
dice
Blair
right
Witch
now.
Project.
We're rolling the dice right now. We're about at 17% on the laptop, but we're gonna ride her out as long as she takes us, or we get saved by the bell and the power kicks back on here. So we're gonna. Nothing was gonna prevent me from coming on to talk a little bit of sports today, at the very least, right?
I feel like we're in a horror movie.
It feels like it, right? I mean, looking around, it looks like it is too. But this is typically where the laptop plugs in. So if we get saved by the power kicking back on here in Ravenna, Ohio, then we'll be all right.
Well, Ty, we do have a good show today. We have Megan Hipple from McDonald Track and state champion in the 3,200 meter. She'll be coming on at 12:30. At 12:45, her coach, Lois Domitrovich, will be joining us from McDonald, the distance coach there for the Blue Devils. And then at 1:15, we have Brogan Collins from Prospects Baseball 16U hopping
I
on. And
think-
here's DJ.
Might be getting a little bit of help, boss man. We're having a little bit of trouble up here in Ravenna, so I'm gonna try to carry it through as much as we can.
Ty, you look like the music video from Queen.
I know it's just my head that's circling out right now.
I was gonna say he looks like the Blair Witch Project.
But no, Ant, you're right. We're in the track and field game a little bit too. We got a state champion and Megan Hipple coming on at 12:30. We got her distance coach and the boys track and field coach Louis Domitrovich coming in. There you go, Dad doubling down on it too. And then 1:15, one that you saw get booked right here live on the show. Anthony got Brogan Collins on the show coming on at 1:15. Prospect 16U baseball coming on, so we get to dive into a little bit of Class B today as well.
Ty, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of dig it.
I mean, I kind of was digging it too when I was looking at it. I was like, this might be a look going forward too. Just keep the lights off when I do it.
It's not the Taliban video that we're used to. the hostage video.
Just black out everything behind me, and then it looks a little bit better.
Did you ever grab a YSN banner to put behind you?
No, I didn't. I need to grab one too. Next time I come in, I'm gonna have to get a nice little flag here. I want to kind of carry a flag with me and just start repping it every game I go to.
Jeez, oh man, I can't. Do you have any like what are they would make the shirts now that glow in the dark? It'd be perfect.
Just like rep it right here too. No, I should. I thought about putting like flashlights up. I just didn't have time to set it all up too. It was just kind of last minute. I got this going. So
I missed the part where you said is it just a power outage or what?
Yeah. So power right now. I got home and it was gone. So
when? This morning.
Yeah.
Wow. So how is your computer on just battery power?
Yeah. It just be running on battery power. So we're running her until she runs.
How do you have internet?
Right. Well, I'm using hotspot on phone.
Get off. See ya.
All right.
It's gonna drain you're not gonna be able to do any games.
So well, no, it's my phone hotspot, not the Verizon hotspot. So that's But no, I mean, trying to do any way I can, right? Any means necessary. Just trying to help Aunt out. So
You're good. Hey, listen, I'll cover for you. It's not a big deal. I'd rather you be able to take care of business at home than use your hotspot and drain all your data, because I know how much, especially StreamYard, it sucks away from it. So it's up to you, but I'm just telling you, you're more than welcome to walk away.
I mean, if power kicks back on, obviously we could join back in. But yeah, it's a full show today, packed with guests too, so it should be exciting. And I know we had a lot of results coming from Class B, and we have a lot of games coming up too. So I mean, and some great interviews that you had with some young men from Boardman too, with DJ.
How about that Jack Ocala interview? 1.7 thousand views on Facebook alone.
Incredible answers from a young man too. I mean, that I've heard some of the best answers from that young man, better than I've heard from some high school kids too. Like, just well spoken for such a young man.
And Gavin Sentner, who had an absolute unbelievable game in the first game I called, they won 17-1. He is going to be somebody, and I loved his swagginess in his answers, like the confidence of I don't know, what are they, fifth graders, so whatever that is, 11, 12 years old. It's incredible to me like, I can't imagine having a phone in my face and being interviewed by YSN or somebody, or the news, or anybody like that at that age, and coming across and being as confident as those two young men were. I was absolutely flabbergasted.
And I mean, that's the future too. And like Anthony and I were talking about, like, watch these 14U kids and watch the kids before, because just like Joe Roth years ago, when you saw him when he was just a wee young guy, that's what you're going to see a lot of these guys too. These young names too that are making an impact right now, that you're going to start seeing swirling on the network. Keep your eyes on them, lock your eyes on them too, and wait until high school varsity season rolls around, because these are going to start becoming household names for a lot of people around the area.
I think what was cool last night for us was, we've done one or two of those games. Like, usually we come on strong during the districts, when like Austintown and Poland and Boardman and Canfield, all those teams are there. But we've never really done the actual community baseball league. And like tonight, I believe it's either tonight or tomorrow. I'll have to check the schedule. But tonight we're doing the Challenger League, which is a league for disabled individuals and kids. And I am so excited for that. Like, bummed out beyond belief that I'm not able to call it the first game on YSN, to kind of christen the voyage. But it's in good hands, and I'm looking forward to that for so many reasons, because we want to be all inclusive here at YSN. That's one of our biggest goals. And obviously from our standpoint, any type of competition, any type of sports is very important to us. And, the way the BCB does things is, to me, top notch, like the best it can be done. They're constantly pushing towards progress, and they are doing it. And we want to be able to capture that progress and show it to the rest of the world as to how it should be done. So I'm excited for those games. I'm excited for the 10Us. Anthony, gear up. Freddie Moots told me that there's a game tomorrow at 7:30. The softball championship. You did it last year, and you were special requested to do it again. So we'll see if time provides. The greatest of all time of the softball world, Anthony Hartwig, will certainly be able to do it.
I think he texted me. I think it's the 15th is the championship for them. I think it's a week
15th,
from tomorrow.
15th. My bad. Okay, my apology.
Yes.
He said 15, and I didn't know what he was talking about. He just started muttering numbers. So sorry, Freddie.
Special request put in for the voice of softball himself too. I mean, you gotta get him early too. You gotta get these dates pre-booked with him if you want. I mean, he's a busy man in the softball world.
Anthony is like, I don't even know what to compare you to. You were like the creme de la creme in the softball diamond. You are the dean of the diamond in softball, and everybody requests you. I'm sitting there, I'm like, Freddie, like I know that, like, I'm nobody, but Anthony, like Anthony did that, and I'm like, all right, cool. I'll see what I could do. Like I was like Anthony's assistant last night, trying to book his gigs.
Got to start charging premium fees too when they want Anthony for ESPN high school.
He's the Wayne Newton of Youngstown, Ohio.
There you go. But no, I mean, Anthony, that Steel Valley Storm too. I mean, just looking at that, that's we talked about that cool experience too. But I mean, just getting a chance to see all these kids extend their seasons too, and I mean, DJ, just kind of extend that conversation. Just how cool it is that we're kind of really doing it a deeper dive. Not that we didn't dive this deep before, but we're doing a really deep dive in this travel ball scene. And it's really fun to see these kids extend their season because, like I told Anthony yesterday, you almost see some kids too find themselves in the travel ball year and they start really picking up speed ahead of next year. Some of these younger players too, this first and second travel ball year for them at the varsity level oftentimes proves to pay dividends going into that junior and senior year.
Yeah, and we talked about it yesterday, and we said that when this happens, when we get travel ball in one capacity or another, watch out because it is going to be like open up the floodgates, and here comes everybody else wanting to have that same exposure. And certainly enough, during my show yesterday, I had 17 calls, messages, or emails that everybody wants to do travel softball, travel baseball. Everybody wants to get involved now. So we thought that would be the case. It's very similar to the case of how we started is once they figure out and see what we are capable of and what our intentions are, they're all in. And Anthony opened up that door as only Anthony can. And, it was one of those things where you just go, okay, here we go. And we got to, the numbers now have to multiply. Now we have to get obviously more people that know softball, more people and baseball that want to do this and travel with the team and highlight the team. Because like Anthony found out very quickly, you can have a game or a day that has 6, 7, 8 games and it can wear you down quick.
And you're switching fields too.
You were yawning during the end of the day, so you need to.
It was not. That's a lie. We were getting ready. We were going for a championship, but you switch fields too. So like you're set up the equipment for field 3, and then it's like, hey, guess what? We won, so we're playing in 15 minutes down in field 4. So tear everything down, get it packed up, get it back set up for field 4, and try to get that game up in the next 10 minutes. Good luck.
That's why the partnership with Game Changer is going to be so important because we're utilizing each other's technology. So we're going to be able to reverse engineer our streams. So we don't necessarily need to carry all that equipment. It's basically going to be our soundboard, our computer, and a GoPro. So you look at that, and if that's all we got to carry, then you can do it very easily in 5 minutes, from that standpoint, which helps us out because like you said, Ant, sometimes you're shifting fields and stuff like that, and they don't care about your broadcast. No. They could care less. They care about those girls getting those games off because if they don't get those games off and things start backing up, then it's just a plumbing problem for the rest of the day.
I mean, looking at that too, though, and just seeing the level of talent that is encased in this travel ball scene too, and just some of the games that I have been able to catch in that you've been able to broadcast too. I mean, I feel like it just goes to show, and we highlighted this yesterday too, but to kind of continue on it, the importance of playing with different teammates and different coaches too, I feel like is on full display during these kind of seasons, whether it's Class B, travel, Boardman, BCB, what have you. I feel like just having that exposure to different coaches, different players is super beneficial to these young athletes going forward because I feel like they need that exposure to different players, different coaching styles, and just have that as much experience and exposure as you can get.
Do you think it's a scenario? I was thinking about this yesterday on the way home. Do you think it's a scenario sometimes of like, you go from let's talk about the younger ones, right? So you're talking about these kids that are in BCB or Austintown Community Baseball, things like that nature. They're on their own teams, with their own parents, which a lot of times you're connected to in the community. And then like you grow up a little bit, you turn into the 14U or you turn into the travel ball circuit for baseball or softball. And now you're on teams with kids from Boardman and Canfield and East Palestine and, all these other schools, these other communities. And all of a sudden the interest peaks because now you're kind of in a different realm. Now you're on your own. You're learning a little bit of independence, but you're also learning how to make friends and creating relationships in these other communities and districts that could last you the rest of your life. We're seeing it now more than ever is these guys like Joe Roth who are friends with, all the guys he's on with the Astros and, JT Popick, who is going to Akron, is now friends with Joe Roth and they're friends before they even put their feet down on the turf in Akron. Do you think that this travel ball opportunities help these kids? And I would argue, help the parents prepare for the next level and getting them exposure and getting them the things that they need along the way to be successful or to give them a fighting chance at being successful. I couldn't really wrap my mind around it the way that I'm trying to today and prepping for my show, because I'm seeing it and I'm seeing it more and more. I want your guys' take on that. Do you think that travel ball is really, I guess the question is, escalating and like fast forwarding the process of recruitment, because it is, hey, you need to like market yourself and things of that nature?
I think so, absolutely. And I think when you go to one of the things that I was kind of not exposed to, but I got a big taste of when I got into this travel ball coaching, is how much of a family atmosphere a travel ball team really is. Because like even the parents, you talked about the parents, like the parents have been together on this travel team for the last 4 years, and they've built this like bond together where it's like a group of just friends that like we had a 3 hour break and they were like, hey, let's go to Rockneys or B Dubs and hang out for 3 hours instead of just sitting here out in the ball field. And, it's this kind of, when you look around and you see other people that have the same goals as you, it's kind of easy to gel with those kind of people. And I don't know if you find that as often on your high school team, because you have the mix of people that are either just playing to have fun or they're just playing to compete. And then you go into travel, and all of a sudden everyone is there for that one reason of bettering themselves and growing their stock. So when you look around, you see everyone there with the same goals, the same dreams as you. It's kind of easier to gel and let your guard down with those people.
Especially when the game too is baseball and softball being as mental as it is, trust has a huge factor in it. So if you're able to build those kind of trust, that kind of trust and those relationships with players that you're going to be going to the next level, and in like Joe Roth and JT's case, they're going on the same team. How beneficial is that for a pitcher to have trust and faith in his shortstop before he steps on that field for that first game? I think it means a huge deal too, and just being able to build those relationships. And even if you compete against them in the next level, I feel like knowing that the tendencies and the swings and what players are offering going into the next level pays a huge benefit to these players. And I think if you expose yourself to more and more, travel ball gives you that opportunity to do so.
I think one of the biggest things about travel ball that I'm really starting to notice is, and this is not just travel ball, this is all-star teams, this is, basically this is anything beyond community ball, is winning matters. And you quickly learn that you're not there necessarily just to have fun anymore. That's ultimately the goal, right? Is to have fun. But when you're going into an all-star tournament and you have the best of the best in your community or your district or whatever it may be, you want to win. I mean, the majority of people in that community want to win because they want to see, hey, how good is this? And, varsity and junior varsity coaches are looking down and thinking to themselves, what do we have coming up? What's in our pipeline that we can count on at this point? And maybe not necessarily anymore with open enrollment and that nature, but at least you have an idea of what you have to grasp onto. And what I love about community ball, which will never go away, is the family atmosphere that you have. But when you have to win, when you want to win, that family atmosphere turns into almost a bunch of rabid raccoons, because if you talk one bad word about my kid, or if you say one negative word about one of our kids wearing our shirts or our jerseys or our community, we're coming after you. And like, you don't want to mess with mama or papa when it comes to that stuff. And again, I still think we're not out of the COVID era of learning how to be in the public. You know what I mean? Like there's some parents and some fans that are still trying to learn how to kind of go back into the wild a little bit and so to speak. And people just need to, we've been patient at this point, but now it's like, all right, you got to take it down a notch. Like, go grab an ice cream, go grab a coffee or whatever you need to chill out, because listen, these are still 10-year-old kids that are, yes, they're wearing your community, they're wearing your district, they're wearing you're representing you very well, but you need to do the same for them. And I think that goes into, any coach will tell you it goes into travel ball. Any coach will tell you that goes into when your recruitment process is parents. While they need to be hands-on, they need to be mouths off, if that makes sense.
It's a bad influence too, directly for the kids, because I could tell you, and I'm not going to name names, but I could tell you of various different level athletes that were going to get looked at by colleges, that college recruiters walked out because the attitude on the field wasn't what they were looking for in their program too. So parents have a direct reflection on their kids' attitude going forward in the sport too. And it's important for parents to have a good attitude, because for college recruiters, your skill level is important, sure, but your attitude is just as important for these college recruiters and when they're looking at you.
Going past that, college coaches recruit your family. So if they see your parents acting up on a travel scene, even if you have good attitude, they're going to say, do I really want to deal with that parent on my team? I don't know. If your talent is good enough to wash that away, that might be a deciding factor. Now, some talent is good enough to wash that away. Let's be real. Some talent's like, I'll deal with anybody to have that kid on my team. But there are some players that are on that fence. And if one of the deciding factors is, well, their mom is completely yelling at that coach, do I really want to deal with that? That could be a deal breaker.
But a lot of times, Dan, if you look at it, if you want that kid, there's a good chance that kid's not going to last long on your team anyway. You know what I mean? If you've got to beg and plead and bargain to get that chip on your team, they're going to be enticed by somewhere else. And that's the way I look at it. When I build a team nowadays, whether it be in business or, from any, I'm a T-ball coach, can't do it necessarily there. But like, if we go to the next level, when you build a team, you build it around the family, right? You build it around the kids that want to be with each other, the kids that want to represent each other, the kids that want to play with each other, across the board, the guys or girls that want to be a part of a championship process, or at least part of that championship story at some point, are going to come and work at YSN. And what I've learned quickly is it doesn't matter. You can put that over my face. It's not a big deal. Nobody needs to see it anyway. What I've learned is it doesn't matter what you pay somebody, is if they don't want to be there, they're not going to be there. And it doesn't matter what you promise them. If they don't want to be there, they're not going to be there. And that's why the transfer portal in college is so interesting to me. Open enrollment is so interesting to me, is because everybody's fighting to keep their kids there. And what I found out is I really think that the coaches that are going to win the transfer portal battle in college, and the coaches and administrators that are going to win the open enrollment battle in high school and beyond, are the people that, okay, if you're with us, you're going to be with us, and we're proud to have you on our team. And if you're against us, bye. Like, you can't start catering to people and be held hostage in your own district or your own community, or go against the very morals that brought you to where you are. And I think that's the difference. Is we've become a society, and sports has become more of a business of, how do we keep this person and keep them happy so we have a chance? Like, I'm going to say it, Quinn's out there, it's the LeBron effect, right? How do we keep LeBron here and keep him happy so we have a chance to go to the playoffs? And now it's not even a reality anymore. Now you're not even guaranteed going to the playoffs. And I think that's more of the subscription of especially a high schooler or a little leaguer, is one kid is not going to make the difference in the grand scheme of things. Because at some point, that one person, if you're in basketball, is going to go against 5 people, right? You might be able to beat one of them at one-on-one, but you're never going to be able to beat 5 of those guys. And the same with baseball. Baseball is a very individual-based sport. It's a pitcher against a hitter. That's it. And he's 1 of 9 in that lineup. You're never going to be able to just win a game by yourself, because it takes defense, it takes great pitching, and it takes offense. And football to me is the ultimate team sport. It really is. Other than hockey, it's the ultimate team sport. 1 against 11, you're not going to win many fights, right? So these coaches now are like looking for mercenaries, and and they're getting younger and younger. I mean, you've got kids that are hitting, like, the 2 kids that I interviewed last night were both taller than I was. And that's not saying a whole lot. Like, I'm not Ty at 6'7",
Right.
but the one kid was like eating peanuts off my head. He was like ready to go. He could have dunked on me, and I probably would have been a little bit intimidated if I played him in basketball. But the reality is I believe, and I can stand corrected, the majority of these communities are having drafts that are blind drafts, right? Or they have combines where they grade the kids out, and then you get a 5. Everybody gets a 5-star to start, and then you go from there. You know what I mean? And if you don't get a 5-star, you get 2 4-stars, things of that nature. When we start loading up, personally, I will tell you this, and I'm taking up all your time, but I think this needs to be like talked about a lot more. When we are stacking T-ball teams, like this is a real thing. When we are stacking T-ball teams that we don't keep score, when we are putting rules into T-ball that we're getting outs at first base, that we have problems. And those problems are deeper rooted and deeper seated than, trying to keep kids in our district and trying to keep kids in our association. Those are like mental issues, like deep-seated issues that you're not trying to teach the kids the fundamentals. You're trying to teach the kids and keep under a timeline, which in T-ball is crap because you got like 3 innings and everybody gets to hit and everybody should be safe. And you're trying to keep these kids and get them invested and get them excited about your program rather than saying, well, Timmy, sorry, you didn't beat the ball to first base. Like there's enough time in our life for disappointment. It's going to happen very quickly at, the ripe old age of 6. So let the 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds, let them have a little bit of grace and fun because man alive. And I hate to be that T-ball guy, but who stacks a T-ball team?
Who puts 4 and why are we putting star recruits on T-ball athletes?
Well, so here was my scenario the other day, and I'm not blaming the coaches at all, right? I'm not blaming, but help me out here. You've got one coach that has 7 players, one coach, 7 players. You've got 7 coaches with 9 players. Where did I miss this?
What went wrong there?
You've got 7 teams, right? Or 8, whatever that may be, like even distributed through the league. So that way there's multiple coaches. So that way you can have people and have, conversations and the kids can get better. I'm telling you, if you've ever tried to teach a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old anything, it's like herding cats. And you just don't have the ability with one person, no matter how good they are, whether they have a teaching certificate or not, you don't have the ability to do it because especially in the great outdoors and on a field, they're just going to go pick up dirt. They're going to do whatever, entices. There goes Ty. Lights out,
power out.
But like I was so as a second year T-ball coach, this is my second year that I was lone wolfing it, and I've got 7 kids. One of them doesn't really want to play, which is fine. Like she's very shy, but like, how do you have 7 coaches on the other team? And there was possibly more that couldn't make it.
You don't need that many coaches on a T-ball team, right? I mean, like
I would love to have 7 coaches on my team, but I also understand that the rest of the league should have, and this is not just an us problem here. This is all over. Right? We've seen dugouts full of coaches. We've seen sidelines full of coaches. You look at any sport and you'll have, that one team that we're talking about, that one team and you go, yeah, they've got 35 coaches. Why do we need that many coaches for a little league team? And that's why, like in the district in Little League, I give Chet Cooper a ton of credit because he's always been adamant about you have 2 coaches in the dugout and that is it. Like that's all you get. Everybody else is out. If their name's not on that roster and they're not part of that 2, they cannot be part of it.
You got like a pitching instructor, a pitching coach, hitting coach. They're 8 years old. What are we doing?
Even 18-year-old, like we've seen it everywhere. We've seen it at Scene. We've seen it at Travel Ball. We've seen it everywhere where you've got more coaches than you do kids at sometimes. And you're just like, what are we doing here? Like, what are they coaching? It's your point. You need pitching instructors, catching instructors. I've been a part of baseball for a long time, and I've never needed or seen that many coaches, especially the T-ball level.
We have a guest DJ, and it is a state champion, Megan Hipple from McDonald, the 3,200 meter champion in track and field, the 71st state champion in that McDonald track and field running program. What a program they have, and the newest member of that great class is joining us. Megan, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
When I say state champion, just go through how that feels and how that makes you feel.
Right now it's like still a little like unreal. Today I hung my name in our hallway as the 71st state champ, so it's starting to set in. And it's just like crazy.
Megan, first off, congratulations. From a standpoint of, those who came before you, you always grow up looking at those names and looking at that hallway and hoping that someday you can hang your name there. Was it surreal to be able to really make that a reality, a dream come true for you?
Yeah, it's unbelievable, especially that I stopped my 7th lap and then had to keep going.
When you think about growing up in this program and running in junior high under McDonald, and everyone knows how successful it's been. I mean, what does it take to get to this point, and how much did you kind of look up to this program and kind of dream of being in this spot when you were little growing up into it?
Actually, I wasn't like into running when I was younger. I'd always played like soccer when I was younger, and then I switched to running my 7th grade year. And I really wasn't sure what I was doing, but as I like started to go on, I kind of realized, oh, I want to make something out of this. And
All right.
like,
Sorry, go ahead.
go ahead, you're good.
So help me out with this because I'm not a runner unless I have to be. How does someone entice you to go from soccer to running in 7th grade?
I don't really know. I just remember running in middle school PE, and I really enjoyed it, and I decided that I was going to try cross country. And then cross country turned to track, and then it just has led to every season since then.
It's got to be an insane work ethic to get to where you've been. Tell us about kind of your routine and your work ethic and what drives you to push yourself as much as you do to get to this point.
I always for me, my drive is to always like, there's always a record I can get, and like I can always beat my own record again. And for me, that's what keeps me going to like constantly get better.
So here's a question from beyond. Ty Bartel says, when did it first hit you that you were the state champ?
Like it started to hit me a little bit when I was standing on the top of the podium and just looking at like the crowd at Jesse Owens, and it was just crazy. It didn't feel real.
Second follow-up question is when you're running, do you like think about music? Like what calms you down to run? Like what do you focus on? For me, it's always, I'm thinking about going from one destination to the next. Like I'm not thinking about the journey. I'm thinking about the finish line. Is that the same for you, or do you find comfort in running?
I kind of find comfort when I'm racing. I'm obviously a little bit more nervous, but for me, like my comfort is like if I can just build a gap, I can get comfortable, and then I know that I just have to do what I know that what I can do. So,
Talking about those nerves, how big were they when you got into Columbus, and what did you do to kind of battle them?
they honestly weren't bad when I got into Columbus. It wasn't until we like walked into the Jesse Owens facility the second day that they were like real, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. But to like stay calm, I just didn't think about it, honestly. I just like distracted myself as best I could.
Do you like establishing like the pace of the race, or do you like kind of playing catch up late in the race? Because I know you said that, establishing that gap is huge for you, but do you find yourself like peeking over your shoulder, looking at people behind you, or do you rather have them in your sights and catch them right at the end?
I definitely like to lead the race, and like I want to be the one that sets the pace, but I've had some good races where I've caught people too. It just depends on the day I'm having, I guess.
I imagine being a distance runner, you had to learn to pace yourself and learn the rhythm of a race and to learn to when to take those chances and things like that. How did you kind of mold into a good distance runner rather than a sprinter?
Well, I don't have very much foot speed at all. So I guess just like I started to realize that I could go fast for a longer period of time versus really fast in a short period of time. And that's when I realized that I was just going to stick to distance.
Was The Tortoise and the Hare one of your favorite books growing up as a distance runner?
I'd actually never read that book.
In all seriousness, I mean, being a distance runner, it takes a lot of patience. Where did you learn your patience from? Did it come from someone in your family? Did it just come from having to learn it on your own? Where did that come from?
The patience for running, like, honestly, once you start running, you build your own patience. It's like patience with running is a different kind of patience.
We have another question from Ty Bartell in the comment sections. He asked, what of your coaches and teammates that have had the biggest impact on your career and your journey?
So my coach, Robin Kapalko, she's my cross country coach. She's always pushed me to like be my best and to like set records. And she just every season I get better there. And then my track coach, Mr. D, he's always there to push me, and he encourages me to try to run with the boys if I can keep up and all that good stuff.
So for those who don't know you, Megan, you're obviously very good at running long distance. What are some other things that you really put a feather in your cap for? What are things you're really good at?
I mean, running is definitely my like strongest spot. Actually, running's like my only really hobby. I don't really do much other than run. It takes up a large part of my schedule.
How much do you run on a weekly basis?
During like the peak of the summer, I'll run upwards to like 50, 55 miles a week.
Oh.
Then the highest mileage I ran was just about 40 miles a week.
I was a baseball player, so 90 feet at a time always did it for me. So I admire the 55 miles a week. That is ridiculous. I mean, is it like Book It where like you get like certain awards for how many miles from your cross country coach or maybe your track coach?
No, not quite.
Not even a pat on the back?
No, the reward is, doing stuff like winning state and winning meets of all kinds.
Fair enough.
It's a pretty big reward. Obviously, you're a student athlete as well, so I want to talk about the student aspect of things a little bit. What's your favorite subject in school, and what's your favorite thing to study?
My favorite thing to study is any of like the science courses. I love like anything with like anatomy, all those kind of things. Like this year I really enjoyed chem. It was good.
Is that something you want to use when you further your career, something in the sciences?
I mean, maybe. I haven't really decided what I want to do in my future yet, but doing something in science would be interesting for me.
What did 5-year-old Megan want to do when she grew up?
I wanted to be a chef and to bake and cook all the time.
Is that still on the table? Do you still bake and cook?
I mean, I would, but I don't know if I would bake. I would definitely cook. But
what's the best dish you cook right now?
I don't really cook that often. My mom does most of it, but I like know how to do a lot of things. Like I can make my own pasta sauce from scratch. Like
wow.
That stuff.
All right. So what's mom's best dish?
I don't know. She makes white chicken chili. That's pretty good.
When we're talking about food, what's the go-to dessert, the guilty pleasure dessert that you have to go to? I know you probably try to keep yourself as healthy as possible, but there's got to be something that softens that sweet tooth a little bit.
Usually ice cream or cheesecake. Those get me.
Who makes the best ice cream?
Oh, I don't know. Handles or Katie's Corner are like my favorites.
Is there like a go-to? Is there like a flavor? Sorry, and I know you were going to ask this question.
Yeah, we were on the same page.
Oreo dough. That's one of my favorites.
What is that?
It's like Oreos and cookie dough mixed together. It's really
That's right up your alley, Anthony.
Yeah. Oh.
All right, so I'm going to give you one to try. Do you like fruit, like fruity flavors?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you this. Rich Morgan, who was a longtime weatherman here in the area, told me this one time, and I thought it was disgusting until I tried it. Grape ice cream from Handles.
Yes, I've heard of that, and I've seen it there. I don't know. That's weird.
Do you have the same phobia that I do when you go up to a Handles? You get so much pressure. Like I usually get cherry vanilla all the time, right? And then I want to try something different and just cherry. I get up there and they're like, "Can I help you?" Cherry vanilla. Like I want to say grape, but I can't. So if there was one flavor that you wanted to try and haven't, is it grape? And if it's not, what is it?
I mean, I definitely would try grape. I just like There's like a blue moon or something that I could never try that. That's just, I don't know. I should try it, but I have never tried it.
I know Handles has a ton of flavors, but if their marketing department came to you and said, "We want you to make a new flavor," is there anything that you like think would make a really good ice cream flavor that you haven't seen yet?
Oh, I don't know. That's hard. I'm like content with ice cream as it is, so coming up with another flavor would be hard.
Anthony, you're the master of utilizing last names. I mean, Hipple has to be a perfect last name for an ice cream. Too hip to do something. Too hip to sip. Too hip
You
to
hit the
trip.
sip.
All right. So from the athletic and student perspective, and Megan, there's a lot that goes into your career already, and obviously you're barely scratching the surface on what we think you can do here. Who's been an inspiration to you along the way that you really think deserves a little bit of a shout out here, whether family, friends, or otherwise? Who really keeps you going?
Both my coaches, Mrs. Falco and Mr. D, they just keep me going all the time, and they're always encouraging me to get to that next level. So those two are definitely my biggest like inspirations and driving forces.
Oh, Ty's got it. Ty nailed it. There it is. Hipple Ripple. There it is.
What are some things that you do outside of track that you would describe as hobbies or things that you do to take your mind off of the competition when you need to?
I like to bike a lot. Sometimes I'll like walk my dog. I hang out with my family and like my friends. McDonald kids love to play volleyball.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I'll do that. Just like I like to be outside and I like that kind of stuff.
What kind of music do you listen to?
I actually listen to like all kinds. It's always like changing, and I never have like a set like kind of music I listen to.
All right, so you got one ticket to go to any concert, anytime, any era. What ticket are you cashing in on?
I really like Mac Miller. I would love to see Mac Miller play something, obviously, but like, I'd be fine going anywhere.
Ty Bartell asks, what's some advice that you would give to younger runners that are now looking up to you on that podium?
Listen to your coaches. They do know what they're doing. Even if you like aren't seeing results, you're gonna see them in the long run. And just don't overtrain. You just gotta listen to your body, really.
Was there ever a time earlier in your career where your coach was trying to tell you something and you thought they were nuts, but now you realize, okay, that this makes sense?
Yeah. This year I was really stuck. I was stuck running in the 11s for the longest time, and I just could not break 11. And I didn't think I was going to get there this year, and I was really upset. But Mr. D, my like track coach, he kept promising that I was going to get there, and I did.
Obviously, your coaches mean a lot to you. Who are some of the runners that came before you that kind of put their arm around you, and who are some of the runners that you've put your arm around, saying, "Hey, we can do this together. You can be every bit as good as I can, and maybe even better."
So some of the runners that like I've like helped, I think I've helped out and like tried to like encourage as much as I can. Emily Kowecki, she's a freshman this year. Mariah Breger, she's a sophomore. She'll be a junior this fall, like coming up for cross. Lily Capizello, just some of those. Some of the older runners that I like looked up to. Anna Guerrera, she was at McDonald and she was really good for a very long time. Vinnie Mari from Howland, he set some crazy records. So yeah, people like that.
Who wins in family game night when you guys get together to be competitive as a family?
Usually my brother, my younger brother.
Do you guys have like a go-to game of the family that you guys like to play?
Uno Flip. That's a good game.
You got to be no mercy with those draw fours.
No.
All right. So when you were on the podium, what was going through your mind?
Well, on the podium, it was really hot, and I was just telling myself, "Don't pass out right now. That would be so embarrassing."
I love it.
And then I was like, "You really just did that." I was thinking, like, how excited I was to see both of my coaches after, and like to see my teammates, and like all my family and like friends.
Was it equal to what you thought it would be like in your head before you actually accomplished it?
Well, in my head, I never thought that I would win state. I never thought that, like, I thought, second maybe I could get, but I never thought I would win like that. And so it was just like a surreal feeling. Like it's still a little like unreal that I even won state, but it's starting to sink in.
We're all very proud of you, Megan. Congratulations.
And we have your coach on, and before we let you go, I want to pop him on so we can get like a last thoughts from you guys. Coach, before we start your main interview, you have any kind of things you want to say about Megan over here that describe how proud you are of what she's been able to accomplish this year?
Megan sometimes is her own worst critic. She's very tough on herself, like a lot of great athletes are. I mean, it's never good enough. And Megan, I just want to let you know it is good enough now.
Yeah.
And you accomplished a goal that you set out to achieve, and that alone, reaching goals is a difficult thing, especially when you set the bar so high for yourself. She is disciplined in all that she does, both in the classroom and out of the classroom, getting up before school and doing workouts and getting in the mileage that she needs to do. And then I get to see her this past year, first period. She's never late. She's on time to class. She does what she's supposed to do inside of the classroom, and then she's ready to go after school as well.
Megan, thank you so much for your time joining us today. I'm sure you have a run to get to at some point today. And we appreciate the time, and we look forward to talking to you again real soon. Congratulations on being a state champion.
Thank you. Bye.
Congratulations.
And now we welcome in her distance coach, Coach Demotovich from McDonald. And this is a program that we've talked about, 71 state champions now for the school of McDonald. What does it mean to you to coach in this program and to coach so many great, talented runners and to be able to kind of represent the program that has had so much sustained success over the years?
So, I mean, our first state champion was back in 1946 in the javelin, and we have had some great athletes that have gone on to Olympic trials, and I have learned from some of the great coaches in the 1970s and 80s, just watching Andy Golubic and Barry Clute and some of our baseball and basketball coaches, Vince Pellegrini, that old school mentality of just keeping your nose to the grindstone. My family has been a huge influence on me. My father was a very good track and field athlete in high school, and then went on to Youngstown State and pole vaulted and threw discus there. And so it's as a program, we learn from those that come before us. And even if things don't go our way all the time, we try to leave things better off than we found it. And the program's in a good place right now. Our staff, as I said, is just unbelievable. And the commitment that they make to the kids from the junior high level to the varsity level and across all sports. I mean, it's great in the fall, when cross country and football and golf and tennis and all of these sports are going on. The coaches work with one another. We have athletes that are multiple sport athletes, and in the winter when it's basketball season, and we share athletes in the springtime across the board. And I think that's another secret to our success as a program, just that willingness to help one another out. And if the kids buy into something and then take ownership of it, look out, because great things can happen.
Coach, with 70 plus state championships, there's got to be something, a common denominator with each one of those champions that you've picked out and told your kids. What is it, and why does it make it so special?
I think there's an allure, to our program, and kids do look back through. We tell stories about these athletes. They're very knowledgeable on the past. Some of the greats in professional sports study the games, that they play. Tiger Woods was just phenomenal when it came to understanding the people that came before him and what you have to do in order to be successful. There are a lot of people that have come through our system that have had a great deal of talent and maybe haven't achieved what they needed to achieve. And there are others that come through that don't have a great deal of talent, but they have the heart and the work ethic, and they're willing to do that. So it's that dichotomy of finding a good balance and being devoted to your craft.
Ty Bartel in the comments wants to know, in your experience with this sport, what are some misconceptions that some athletes have had before joining the program about track and field as a sport, individually?
Well, at least with our program, just being part of the program doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a great athlete, just like in all sports. There are some of us that have talent and ability, and we can use that and further ourselves and become good at something. And that there are some of us that our expectations and goals that are realistic to one are not the same as others. I fall in love with the kid that that sets goals around a weekend or a weekday conference meet and reaches their goals on a Tuesday afternoon, in the springtime. There's a lot to be said for that, and we have had thousands of athletes that have set their expectations up around that. And then, like Megan, we have athletes that have come through our system that are capable of making it to the next level. We've been very fortunate with having a lot of gifted athletes that have moved on to college careers in the SEC and the Big Ten, as well as Division 1, 2, and 3 sports as well. We have athletes at Kent State right now, Kentucky, John Carroll, all participating, West Virginia, all participating in track and field and cross country. So having realistic expectations, I think, is something that's important for anybody that comes into or gets going as part of a program. What do you want to get out of it? And you have to set realistic goals.
Coach, we learned from a very young age, sharing is caring. And obviously, for part of a small school district, you've learned very quickly to have to share athletes and understand that athletes are going to want to compete in other sports as well. With the climate of sports right now, with athletes wanting to specialize and things of that nature, how challenging has it been, and how many conversations have you had with parents and student athletes about understanding that they can be successful in other sports and their main sport at the same time?
Yeah, I think it's a willingness to have those lines of communication open. I'll tell you a quick story about a young man that we had, a freshman this year, who did both baseball and track and field, Carson Clace, and he was a standout in baseball. And I think his parents knew that he could be a standout in track and field, and he qualified for the state championships in the 2-mile this year. It is difficult. It's a difficult road. I've had 2 sons who have done multiple sports, and families get pulled in a lot of different directions, and you've got to have patience with coaches and parents when you do that. But when you're in a system like we are at McDonald, I'm not saying it's easy, but having great coaches like we do in our school system certainly makes that easier for us to share athletes across the board. And there are very few athletes in our building that just specialize in one sport. Megan's brother will be doing football in the fall and does track and field in the spring, and there are very few one sport athletes. I mean, a lot of our kids are 2 or 3 or even sometimes 4 sport athletes at our school. I was reading an article by Tom Brady, and he talked about the importance of his father encouraging him to do other sports. Urban Meyer, when he was at Ohio State, said that he loved to get a baseball guy or a track guy on the football team. They were just a better balanced athlete, and I do think that that's important in the world that we live in today with specialized sports.
You said earlier that you get to see these kids in the classroom as well as a teacher. What kind of advantage is it for you as a coach to be able to not just teach these kids on the track, but also teach them in the classroom and get to see the hard work they put in to their schoolwork as well as their athleticism?
Yeah, on the boys and girls side this past year for our qualifiers for the state meet, we had 8 of our state meet qualifiers were academic All-Ohio athletes. And for us, like most schools, I mean, academics certainly come first. And we have a lot of rules and guidelines set up around that. And if you can get the kids to work hard in the classroom, it's a little bit easier to get them to work hard with the running or the throwing in our sport as well. So being able to see them in the hallways, communicate with them about their grades. I know my sister, Mary, who's the head girls coach, and we work really well together. We have team meetings and we talk about the importance of making sure that you're staying caught up on your academics. Sports can get us can get you somewhere in life, but for the most part, the academics is what needs to come first. And if you're not doing what you need to do in the classroom, then maybe sports isn't what you should be doing right now. It's that classroom that you gotta take care of first.
Is it a shock to you that track and field has really taken into the limelight a little bit as of late? I mean, obviously with so many champions and state champs rolling through McDonald, you guys have always had that limelight and been kind of ground zero for track and field. But lately, it feels like there's been a lot more. Is that just the way we're moving with social media and things of that nature, or do you think this is a long time coming, Coach?
I think social media helps push it. I really do. You know, I can only imagine if social media was around in the 70s and the 80s, some of the great athletes from our area, from Harding and Howland and all these great NFL players that have come out, what their lives, can you imagine that, what their lives would have been like being in the spotlight? Because we have certainly had our fair share in Trumbull and Mahoning County with great athletes. I do think it's a double-edged sword. Social media certainly is that type of platform that can help promote success in a program. I'm somewhat tentative about it from time to time because I could also see the other side of the dangers of what it can do. I think we got to give credit where credit is due, and when something certainly goes well, showering young men and women with positive attention, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. So it can be a very good thing.
In the comments, Ty Bartell wants to know, who were some of your influences in your coaching career?
Again, my father and my family. My sister Jeanette is just an amazing middle school coach, and no high school program can be good without having positive influences at that level early on. So my sister Mary and I, again, we've coached for a long time at the varsity level, and then I go back and I look at Chris Roop, who has just had a profound impact on not just my life, but so many other people's lives. And we have had some great coaches, Andy Galubic and Fred Galt and Barry Clute and Mike Richards and Robin Kapalka now is taking over our girls cross country program, and we've got some youth on the boys side with Kyle Joins, who's a former athlete. You know, a lot of our staff, they are former athletes and they want to stick around. So I think that too speaks volumes of what we have going in our system, and it's also good to see so many of our former athletes at other schools in the area carrying on track and field. It can be a difficult sport to love. It's the most primal of all sports when it comes to, run fast, jump high kind of approach to it. And sometimes it can be, like you had asked Megan, that idea of what motivates you. It's something intrinsic inside of people that once they get a taste of it, that even though it's 90 feet, like you said, the first base there, that idea of running the bases and stuff, there's just something that is unique, that clicks inside of something inside of all of us for something. And track and field has certainly been that for McDonald High School.
Coach, the coaching position across all of sports has always been so robotic. Kids think of barely ever think of their coaches as humans. When we talked to Megan, she said the one of the first people she thought about as she crossed that finish line was you. What does that mean to you to be able to impact at such a deep level to these student athletes, both in the classroom and on the track and field?
I think in the world that we live in today, that I, me lifestyle that we seem to have, which is that other side of the sword that we were talking about with social media and what have you, to find a way to convince yourself to do something that you may not be comfortable with, or to give of yourself in a way, if you're part of a relay that you may not be used to get to kids to realize or come to the realization that what they're doing is something challenging. It's something difficult. We need positive role models in the world that we live in today, and coaches and parents, they can have a huge impact. It does mean a lot to me. It means a lot to our staff, because it's not just one person. It's an entire program It's the teachers at the school. It's everybody working together as a unit and as a group. And yeah, maybe certain people see others a little bit more, and I appreciate Megan saying that. But it is an entire group of people that help raise and train these kids to reach their goals.
My final question, I'm going to flip that one on its head and say, in what ways have the athletes that you've been able to coach and the students that you've been able to teach impacted you in your life and taught you about yourself?
It's every day. I get the opportunity year in and year out to be around 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds. However, this is the first time that some of these parents have ever had a 15, 16, 17, or 18-year-old. So I've got a lot of experience with it. And sometimes we have to remind ourselves that for these parents, that this is the first time that they're experiencing this. And for these kids, this is the first time that they're experiencing it. And it's a constant evolution of learning. You've got to individualize what you're doing. There's no necessarily special formula, because everybody's so different in their makeup. Mentally, you guys talked about that before Megan came on, just the mental aspect of the game, and everybody is different. So you just constantly have to be willing to make mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and hopefully that will help in the future with training somebody else.
Coach, thank you so much for all you do. Obviously, you're a championship caliber coach and mentor, and we can't thank you enough for coming on the show and sharing some of those thoughts.
And I will say one last thing. Rich Morgan was a very smart man, because grape ice cream from Handel's is my favorite flavor, and I can't go very long without having it. And he certainly will be missed dearly. I remember growing up watching him on so many different things.
I love it. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I had it once, and it's so good. It's hard to explain how good it is.
It is hard to explain. You're right about that.
Thanks, Coach. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you.
There he goes.
Louis Dimitrovich, the distance coach, the head coach of the boys track team and the distance coach of the whole program, joining us on Running Point, ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. And you said it, a championship caliber coach and a championship caliber program. 71 total state champions in McDonald track and field. And I'm sure they have many more when it comes to cross country as well. When you have track and field success, you're probably going to have cross country success too.
Listen, they joke about it all the time. There's something out in the water in McDonald about, with their track and field program. But the reality is, Anthony, there's something about their coaching staff. They know, they're analytical. They understand the history. They respect the history. And they also want to live that history. They want state champions to be part of it, because it's not only about wearing the gold around your neck and hoisting the trophies that they do. It's about the lessons that they learn along the way, that if you work hard, you play hard, you're going to be rewarded for those efforts, the sacrifice that you have. And Coach and Megan in the last 20 minutes talking about those sacrifices that they have. I mean, listen, I'm not gonna break any news here. I'm not a big runner, but I'll tell you what is I respect the heck out of these runners, because it's you against you a lot of times. I mean, yeah, if you're in a race, there's a lot of people around you, but like we asked Megan, she likes to lead and set the pace. How do you do that and not like peek over your shoulder, like who's coming up on my six all the time? And, it's her against her. She sets the pace. And you had a beautiful question about, how do you know in your head, how do you get going and how do you stay there? You've got to understand the rhythm of the run. And obviously Megan does that very, very well.
Especially in distance. I mean, the sprint is like you're going in your last in 10 seconds, you have to go. And you don't have time to worry about who's behind you if you're leading in a sprint. In a distance, you have to be mentally focused for that long, and I'm sure the temptation to look behind you is always there.
I would. I mean, listen, the only comparison I have is, let's say you have a breakaway in football, right? If you're a running back, you're a wide receiver, you're a quarterback, and you're breaking away, you're always seeing them do this guy, like looking over their shoulder to see if somebody's coming up behind him. In baseball, it's rounding third, heading for home. Everything's behind you. You can't see it. For three bases, you have the opportunity to see everything in front of you and basically make up your own mind. But for when you're going around third, heading for home, you've got to trust that coach, and you've got to beat feet. Imagine if there was somebody behind you didn't know, or that ball's coming in behind you. And a lot of times we see it happen where a ball beats a runner to home and they're toast because they take their foot off the gas. In running, I admire so much about these kids and these professional runners because they know how to do it and they can push themselves like many of us cannot. It's very similar to being in the gym by yourself. You got to push yourself. There's nobody that's going to come and tell you, hey, one more rep means that you get that much stronger.
I like the word the coach used. It's very primal. It's very just to run, and then all of a sudden the human nature kind of kicks in, like you're running away from something. And isn't that one of the more primal things of just human nature, just to run? Whether you're running away from something, you're racing something, it doesn't matter, just to run. It's just embedded into our psyche.
How weird is it that we have to teach how to run? You know what I mean? Like there's running coaches we joked and kind of pushed on how much we need 50 coaches for every 10 kids on a baseball field or whatever. But really, like, we're not born knowing and understanding how to run. We have to learn it the same way we had to learn how to crawl and walk and do all that. The right way to run, it depends on what you're running, right? There's heel toe, there's the ball is your feet, if you're sprinting, things of that nature. And your arms and everything goes right into it. And everything has a science to it. And running is no different. Like teaching Z how to run the correct way, like run fast. And it doesn't sound like, there's elephants stampeding in my living room. There's an element of science to it. And I think that when you look at all the success that McDonald has and has had, they have that science down pat. And you talk to coach about how much goes into it, and he's well versed. He's read a book or two, I would imagine, on the art of track and field, and he said it. He's been around so many great coaches before him that he's able to pass that down like a baton in the 4x4 from one coach to another. And now he's got it, and he's teaching his kids everything he knows about it, and you're seeing that success on the track and in the field.
And I'm sure with every sport, technology and sports science developments have helped track and field coaches better their athletes. Every body type might run a little bit differently, and being able to pick out exactly how to utilize your specific body type and how to utilize your specific running technique has probably been a huge accomplishment in track and field. And now we're seeing more and more runners be able to hit that 10-second in the sprints, or be able to reach times that we didn't really see 10 or 15 years ago. We're starting to see times get really lower than we used to see at this high school level back in the day.
Well, and I think it comes down to being able to have that history of success. And you say, okay, this kid, their body type looks like A, and this kid, their body type looks like B. So we think that we can see success here. It's getting them to buy into that change, right? Which is always so tough because, I had dreams of being a quarterback, but at 5'4", I couldn't see over the offensive line. So those dreams were dashed pretty quickly. But I was a perfect size for a catcher. So early on, it was, I'm going to be a catcher in baseball. I'm going to be an offensive lineman, defensive lineman, and they'll let me kick a little bit just so I can put some points on the board in football. I'm not a track athlete. I'm not that guy. I'm not a soccer player, but you quickly realize that there's different ways to contribute on different teams. And what I love about track and field, and listen, I was not a run for fun guy in high school, and I do it just for health here at the age of 37. And it's you can be a team guy without having to necessarily, put on the shorts and the cleats and go out there and run for fun. You can be a supporter. And what I love about McDonald and so many schools around here, especially, and we saw it on social media, there are so many supporters of track and field. And because there's opportunity for that, individual accomplishment and achievement, but at the same time, they're representing their school, which is something you got to love and why we promote it. We're less about the individual, more about the team. But listen, there is a bunch of individuals that make up that team.
DJ, we have another guest coming up at 1:15, Brogan Collins. I think you'll respect him because he catches quite a bit. He catches for prospects,
Stud.
he catches for other travel teams, he catches for LeBray, and he also is spending the summer getting ready for football for LeBray as well. So he's a busy boy in the summer. We're going to talk to him at 1:15, but we're going to take our first break of the day. And when we come back, we'll have that and more on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Why choose local? Because you live here, work here, learn here, relax here, and celebrate here. 21 WFMJ is our valley's only locally owned TV station, and our focus is local. Other TV stations don't have that same focus, as their owners are somewhere else. But 21 WFMJ is rooted in the valley. Local people making decisions that affect your life, right here where you live.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa.
And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing.
Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships.
We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team.
Your goals, our game plan.
Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Change. This one word can make you break out in a cold sweat. But with change comes wisdom, experience, and understanding. At Myers Family Insurance, we can help make changes in Medicare, insurance, and retirement a positive experience for you and your family. We've gone through changes, like our new office and new faces to help our family of clients too.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com or find us on Facebook.
Jimmy Sudman here, director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
How lucky are we to have not one, but two 18-hole Donald Ross Championship golf courses right here in our backyards. Mill Creek Golf Course was selected by Golf Week as one of America's 30 best municipal courses, continuing to challenge golfers of all levels and featuring PGA professionals, golf instruction, a players' rewards club, kids programs, and a pro shop and grill room for a memorable golf experience. Call or click to schedule your tee time at Mill Creek Golf Course.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, we offer a worry-free experience for all our customers. From sales to financing and even service, we'll help build your perfect vehicle
and lock in your trade value
while your vehicle is being built.
No worries.
We guarantee financing,
regardless of your situation or credit history.
No worries. And when your vehicle needs service,
our award-winning team will get you back on the road.
No worries.
That's what going the extra mile means. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Now is the time to think about your future, where you want to go, what you want to be. Your future can start now at Kent State Salem or Kent State East Liverpool. We have programs that will open doors and provide opportunities for you to pursue your passion. We are affordable, we are close. You call it hometown, we call it Kent State University. Learn more at www.kent.edu/Columbiana. You belong here.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They go the extra mile for you. Anthony Hartwig alongside DJ Oakley as Ty Bartell is struggling with some power outages out in Ravenna. Rolling blackouts in Ravenna. Who knows what's going on over there? We're getting ready to talk to Brogan Collins from Prospect 16U Baseball. here at 1:15. But before we do, let's get into the 18U results from last night. Creekside sitting in second place in 18U. They squeaked by Eagleware last night, 7-6. They had to come back to kind of keep that hope alive. With the dominance of Astro Falcons, a lot of pressure on Creekside to keep pace, and they were able to barely win 7-6 to keep pace with the undefeated Falcons.
This has become a nice parity in Class B, and obviously the Astro Falcons continue to be the class of the division and of the I don't want to say organization, but of Class B. And what you think about is everybody, when you look at a champion, everybody's got a target on their back and on their chest, and everybody's ready and rip roaring and ready to go for when they play the Astro Falcons. And a champion has to always be ready to take that best punch from every single team. And so far, so good for the Falcons.
And that's 18U. We'll go into 16U. Prospects and Brogan Collins joining us, the catcher for them and catcher for a lot of other people too. We've heard that you have a pretty busy summer, Brogan. We definitely thank you for your time hopping on the show with us today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Look at this guy, built like a brick house, the catcher, the backstop. I mean, I know what catching means and meant to me. What does catching, being that field general, mean to you, bro?
It gives me the ability to lead the team, and that's big for me. I like being able to tell everyone what to do and make sure everything's done right.
Do you call your own pitches?
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. All right. So naturally, when you're calling your own pitches, you're already setting up 2 pitches, 3 pitches ahead in the sequence. When did you learn to call your own game, and how challenging was it for you?
I started in the 8th grade doing it. I had some help from coaches, but basically it was just me learning the batters and what I had to call for them.
All right. And when you call a bad pitch or a home run is hit off of a pitch you called, what is the first thing you do?
Put my head down and question why I called that pitch.
Do you go out to the pitcher's mound and say, "Hey, man, that's on me"?
Yeah, usually I'll tap my chest. That's on me, man.
In the same respect, calling your own pitches, how blessed are you, and how much do you appreciate having coaches that trust you to do that and let you kind of take the reins with that?
It's nice. It makes me feel confident in my own ability, and my pitchers trust me too. So that's big for me, knowing that I can do it.
I think one of the coolest things about you is when people think about catchers, they think defense. They don't think speed. They don't think offense. You are proving them wrong, my friend. You have got it all, and you're like a new generation of Pudge Rodriguez behind that dish. When you hear people talk about your style of catching, which is a phenomenal one, how do you think about all that went into it, the hours and squats and the bullpens that you've had to catch? And we all know that catching a bullpen is about as fun as getting hosed down by a fire department. But, it trains you and it gets you ready. I mean, talk about the learning process of being a catcher and learning the real craft of being that backstop.
It took a while. I switched probably my 7th, 8th grade year into catching more. I used to be a shortstop, so going into that, I had to learn a lot. I was behind from a lot of other people because they were catching, their whole lives, and all the time you got to put in. There's a lot of it. All the bullpens, as you said before, learning how to block, getting a strong enough arm to throw kids out. It takes a long time. It took me a long time.
There's 2 types of catchers out there, ones that love to block and ones that hate it. Which side are you on?
Oh, I love blocking. It's fun.
Do you take pride in the fact that your pitchers can trust you to be able to get those balls in the dirt? I mean, because what people don't realize is those 3-2 curveballs aren't exactly rocket science. It's you have to trust, a pitcher has to trust his stuff, and a catcher has to be trusted to block that, especially with guys on base. When you see that, your pitcher must trust you a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah, I feel like that's a big part of my pitchers. They trust me in blocking it, so I feel like they throw better because they know I can stop it when I'm back there. And, it makes the other teams, makes it harder for them to steal and to run and to, not swing at a pitch when they don't think they should.
You talked about the time you're putting into your craft, and yesterday your dad told us just how busy you are this summer. It goes way beyond just the Prospect 16U. Give us a glimpse into what your summer looks like and what else you're doing outside of the Prospects.
Well, as you said, I play prospects, but I'm playing for a 20U team, just going out there catching for them. Then I got Brownlee, lookouts. That's a lot. I'm traveling to Indiana twice this year, going to Georgia. Got a couple tournaments around local. And besides that, I have football starting up too. So it's a lot. And, you don't get much time to yourself, but this is what I love doing. So it's what I do.
How did you learn time management at this point in your young life?
For me, it's not really time management. It's just I just play baseball, and I love it. If I get time off, sometimes I go out with my friends, hang out, go fishing. But really, I live and breathe baseball.
So when you're in football season, what do you like? Obviously, you dedicate a lot of your time to that. So how do you manage? Do you play fall ball or anything with that, or is it solely football in the fall?
It's usually just football. Since 7th grade, I've just played football in the fall. It's
It's a mentality being a football player. What do you take from being a catcher into your football realm that you can kind of take from both worlds?
Really, football is what helped me realize that I can just throw my body around. That's what I have to do. To play catcher, you got to throw your body around. So.
There's a lot of conversations between pitchers and catchers that we'll keep off the record, but you got to be able to handle pitchers, and pitchers aren't exactly always. How do I say this? They're not exactly sane. So how do you keep your pitchers in check, especially handling, different pitching staffs? If you're part of 3 leagues or so this summer, how do you continue to kind of separate them and compartmentalize as you talk to each pitching staff?
You got to be a psychiatrist for them. It's hard. You got to learn all of them. All of them are different. You can't just say one thing to all of them. You got to learn who they are and how they act and what they react to better.
What's your one go-to whenever a pitcher is losing their mind? Let's say they go out and this doesn't happen with you because you're on a lot of good teams, but let's say they give up a few earned runs or maybe even unearned runs. What do you go out there and do to calm them down, or should I say Dr. Collins?
Usually I just go down there. I try to make them laugh or something, talk about something else. It's not baseball.
Do you have a good dad joke that you use?
No, some of the stuff is just, it's weird. Say some weird stuff.
Like you said, you have to kind of get to know these pitchers and you'd have to build relationships and chemistry with them. What's your favorite thing to do off the field to get to know players and pitchers? Do you like to take them out to eat? Do you like to hang out with them at the house? Do you like to, what kind of things do you like to do to get to know the pitchers that you have to get to know?
Going out to dinner is nice because you guys can just sit down and talk about your lives and stuff. But sometimes going out and just hanging out with them, a lot of the kids you go to school with, so you get to learn them there and just texting them, talking to them, calling them. That's a lot of it. You gotta become friends with them.
Do you play video games?
Yeah.
All right. What games are you really good at?
I like Skyrim, Rainbow Six Siege. I play the show, obviously.
No doubt.
And I play. There's a lot of different games. Minecraft, man. There's a lot of games.
From all your teammates, who is the best at the show?
I don't know. We've never I'm pretty bad.
Do you play against the computer? Is that what you're telling me?
Oh, what? Yeah.
Yeah.
On rookie?
No, I play the hardest, I got
sliders all the way up.
I respect that. It's so when you are calling the pitches, naturally, do you ever start, I don't know, scouting, studying the game? I found myself very early on, this is weird, and my wife still thinks I'm weird for this, but in playing the show, at that time it was what's that, the other game, Anthony, from our generation? It was what was it called? From PlayStation. I can't remember. Anyway, being able to call games, even when you're relaxing, you're still calling and you're using that catcher's kind of frequency, so to speak. Do you find yourself doing that a lot? And who do you use the most on the show? And who's your favorite pitcher to call pitches for?
Oof. My favorite, probably Ohtani, just because he's so good and his card is just so good. It's hard for anybody off of him.
So you're a cheater, is what you're saying. You go after Ohtani and Trout, and you're a cheater. I'm never playing you in the show ever.
I like winning. All right.
Who's your favorite catcher?
This ought to be good.
Probably Molina.
Yachty?
Yeah, that's who I like styled my game after, catching wise.
I like it. I like it a lot. So, do you ever get to pitch?
Like in real life?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes.
When's the last time you pitched, and how did it go?
I pitched a couple days ago, and it went all right because it'd been about a year since I've pitched in a game.
What's the best pitch in Brogan Collins' arsenal?
Probably my knuckle curve.
Knuckle curve.
Wow.
Look at you. Do you all right? So I had it. I gotta pop myself up here on the screen so you can see. So when pitchers, I hated knuckleballs, right? And they would cross me up and throw me knuckleballs on purpose, whether we were up 7 or down 7. So I had a little thing where, and I would never suggest this to anybody, but Brogan, I'm telling you, if they cross you up, you throw that ball into center field. That's how it goes. And especially in a bullpen. A bullpen, I would roll it back and they would have to work for it. Because coaches are always going to tell you, don't make your pitcher work for it. But if they cross you up in a bullpen, you make sure you roll it back to them or throw it over the bullpen. They got to go get it.
It's really annoying when people cross me up. It doesn't hurt often, but it's annoying.
It's the worst. Have you ever had to paint your fingernails to show the signs?
I've been thinking about it because recently people have been struggling to see it, especially when it gets dark out. So,
and the tape sucks. I'm not a fan of the tape because it messes up the way you can hold a baseball.
Yeah, it gets in your way.
That's all I got, Ant. What do you got?
I got some rapid fire questions to get to know you a little bit off the field. You ready for that?
Oh yeah.
All right. I'll start with this. If you could afford any car, what kind of car would you want to buy?
Oh, probably a Rolls Royce.
Oh, he's going fancy. If you could go forward in time or back in time, which one would you rather do?
Probably back in time.
What era would you want to go to?
Probably the 80s.
If you could meet anyone from the 80s, who would you want to meet?
Oh, it's a hard question. Probably my dad. When he was
from the 80s?
Yeah.
He wants a Back to the Future kind of experience where he goes and meets his parents when they were his age.
What year were you born, Brogan?
I was born in 2005.
Oh my gosh. So going to the 80s for you is like going to the 50s for me.
Yeah.
What's the go-to Saturday morning cartoon when you were growing up?
I think it was Popeye.
Oh yes. If you could put yourself into any cartoon world, what show do you think you'd want to be put into?
Probably Tom and Jerry.
Would you be Jerry or Tom?
Oh, I'd definitely be Jerry.
What's your playlist look like? What's your personal playlist look like?
A lot of country music, some R&B, some pop here and there.
What's the walk-up song for you?
I don't know. I've never had a walk-up song. Never got to do that.
Can you play an instrument?
No.
What instrument would you play?
I'd like to play the drums.
I pegged you for guitar. I missed.
What's that one song on your playlist that you're kind of embarrassed is on there, but you still rock to anyway?
Probably like Party in the USA.
By Miley?
Oh yeah.
That a boy.
Song's fine.
That song's making a comeback because that's not the first person that's answered that to that question.
It's a good song.
What's your guilty pleasure dessert?
Probably just ice cream. I don't eat that much dessert.
What's the flavor of ice cream?
Chocolate or coffee.
Coffee ice cream. That calf or decaf?
Calf. I don't know if there's a difference in those. I don't know if they do that.
Can you have decaffeinated coffee ice cream?
Yeah, it still tastes like crap.
What was the last show that you streamed on a streaming service?
I think it was Vikings.
All right. I want to thank you for your time today and getting to know the role of catcher And I know DJ loved it because he's a catcher himself and he loves talking the craft. We thank you for your time. Good luck this summer and all you're doing. I mean, it's so busy. We appreciate the time as always, and we'll look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Thank you for having me.
Rogan, I'm a fan, man. Good luck.
Thank you.
What an absolute stud. Like, people that you want to be like, he's born in 05, right? So if I could go back, like, that's a guy that I would want to hang out with if I was in high school, because he's got it together. The only thing I peg him as a country singer, like, with if you're at a bonfire, like, he's going to have the guitar. Like, hey, Brogan, go grab your guitar and let's roll.
Gives you like that Travis Scott kind of vibe a little bit.
Like I bet he could, with a little bit of time and effort. I bet he's the guy that could play like "I Only Want to Be with You" on the acoustic set at a bonfire.
We have another superstar in his own right coming on in the last half an hour of the show. It's Mr. Richie Giuliano, and he's got a lot to talk about because boy, did the Scrappers have a great weekend this weekend, and he got to be at the forefront of it as his debut as the voice of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers. Richie, thanks for coming on the last half an hour of the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I wish I could have hopped on earlier. I mean, got the late text, and I was like, oh, man, I'll get home at some point, and I'll hop on. So
I sent out the Richie signal as soon as Ty was having power issues.
Yeah, he sent me a text. He's like, my power's out. Can you hop on? I'm like, I might be able to hop on the last, hour, half an hour. So I'm glad.
The savior. Richie, you are the savior. Dude, when you talk about this Scrappers team, and we had discussed it at length before the season even started, this is a team that embodies what the Mahoning Valley is all about. This is a team that just never goes away. They are quite simply the Scrappers of this league. Talk to me about, how you've seen them kind of take character and take shape over the last few nights.
Yeah, it was pretty tremendous what they did over the weekend, winning 4 in a row to, sweep the series against West Virginia. And, you kind of talked about it. They had 2 come from behind victories. One game they were down 4-1, and they came all the way back and rallied with a 6-run 6th inning and then a 3-run 7th inning. And I talked to Homer Bush, the manager for the Mahoning Valley Scrappers, after those games. And, he just talked about how hitting is contagious and how his guys just have the same exact approach, whether there's guys on base or not. And Owen Jackson, who was the D4 JUCO Player of the Year, he comes from Kankakee, which is a small suburb of Chicago. I got to catch up with him, and he was the guy that really lifted up this offense in those clutch situations. On back-to-back days, he had 2 RBI doubles. So I talked about him, and he said, I don't want to be cocky, but I just go up to the plate, and I just tell myself I'm better than this pitcher, and I'm going to get a hit. So he's off to a great start, and hopefully the Scrappers can keep a guy like Owen Jackson, a guy that goes up there with bare knuckles, no batting gloves, with a wood bat. So I respect his game a lot, and he's a guy that they're going to lean on in those clutch situations that drive guys home.
You got to love the guys with the no gloves. That's just an intimidation factor. Like, I don't even need the gloves to beat you. I'm going to hit your pitch with the bare hands.
What was Richie like without – did you go no gloves or did you have gloves? I'm guessing gloves.
No, I was gloves for sure.
I knew it.
I was gloves, yeah. I'm not that gritty.
I'm all about the swag. I'm all about like if nowadays I would have the leg guard, I would have the arm guard, and they would all be color coordinated, by the way, looking swaggy and fresh. And it would take me about 35 minutes to get to first base after taking everything off.
Yeah, that's what happens when you do the Cardinals. I mean, AJ and Ben, those guys have the shin guards or the elbow guards and oven mitt. Yeah, Josh, my brother, has the oven mitt that he wears. So I mean, you see these guys, and a lot of the Scrappers guys just go up there and they just swing it, man. They don't even care about all that stuff. They're just gritty guys, and a lot of junior college guys, which is really impressive when you look at it. Anthony Romo and myself were talking about it on the broadcast on Friday that it just shows you the amount of talent that we have in this country, whether it's Division I down to D2 down to JUCO. I mean, you could find talent everywhere. And we were talking about this from a D1 perspective. Some of these D1 coaches really need to start looking down at the JUCO level, because you got guys like an Owen Jackson that's hitting 95-mile-per-hour fastballs against West Virginia University guys and, contributing double after double. So I think that's going to be something that this league will prove throughout its existence. And I think that's something that, Division I coaches are going to look at later in the season. There's going to be a lot of scouts and a lot of D1 coaches that show up to the ballpark every night.
Opening day, Buck Anderson was the player of the game. He made the biggest impact on opening day. And he was the player that impacted the game a handful of times last year as well. Was he one of the guys that you guys circled going into the season? Like he's going to be someone that really steps up for this lineup?
Yeah, first off, it was pretty fitting that it was Buck night in the ballpark on Thursday, and Buck Anderson's the guy that comes through with 3 RBIs. And I talked to him after the game on Thursday, and he's such a great guy, really humble. He comes from St. Leo, which is a junior college down in Florida, so a guy that has something to prove coming into this league. He's not the tallest guy; he's only 5'8", so he's got something to prove. And he did. He came in and he impacts the game in so many ways. I mean, you get this guy on base and he's going to steal second automatically. He might even steal third on you. You never know. He did it this past weekend. He's got a hose from center field. He threw out a guy at center to impact the game. And then at the plate, of course, he just has that up the middle approach. He takes what is given, and a guy that's really fun to watch, and he plays the game the right way.
Rich, we talked about it before the season started. We were standing at Scrapper Fest. This is a team that really didn't know each other coming in, and they've had to really study their chemistry to get things going, but they've done well. What do you think has been the telltale sign for them as to getting kind of mixed in the early going and really building success on the baseball diamond?
Yeah, that's the toughest part about this draft league. I mean, Homer Bush, the manager, talked about it. He submits his lineups about 2 days before the game even starts. He doesn't really know what he's going to get in the first weekend. So, I mean, it's all about getting guys out there and getting the guys game reps, because that's what this league is. It's a showcase league for the scouts and, other Division I colleges and coaches. But overall, I mean, like I said earlier, I think it's just the excitement and energy of these guys in the dugout. They really feed off of each other. It's that hitting is contagious kind of mindset, because all of their runs this past weekend have come in just 1 or 2 innings. I mean, when you look at it, they put up 6s and 7s on the scoreboard. So those 1 or 2 big innings have really ignited them to this 4-0 start.
One of the things that I can tell about Homer Bush just from his interviews with you is, man, is that guy happy to be there? Like the energy that he brings to those interviews, always smiling, always just ready to go. How much do you think the team reflects his attitude?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, he's just excited to be there. I mean, it's his first managerial spot that he's ever had outside of, being in the lower ranks. So, I mean, this is a spot for him to, climb the ranks and get up to where he wants to be. He even quoted his old manager and Joe Torre in our first interview that we did. And, we talked about, a good players make a good manager. And, he's got some really good players. And I think that those guys reflect off him, because he doesn't say too much, during the game. He trusts his guys to go out there and do their job, and they have done that. So, I mean, these guys really like him. They like the coaching staff, and I think this is going to be a fun season. Hopefully they could keep some of these guys, because most of them are temporaries right now. We're waiting for some guys to come in from the college ranks. I mean, you got a guy like Michael Turner, who won't be back with the Scrappers for a long time. They just won the regional last night, so he might not even play with the Scrappers this summer. He was on the preseason roster, but some other guys have filled in, like an Owen Jackson. We saw Youngstown State alum Chad Coles come out of the bullpen and get a 3-inning save on, I believe, Saturday night that was. So, I mean, there's some guys that are temps that are fighting for a spot on this roster.
Let's be realistic. It's hard to argue with a guy that has a World Series ring, that he can sit there and go, oh, okay, you want to argue with me? Okay, well, let's see how you do tonight. And that's the thing that I love about, having Homer Bush being a leader, is he's been there, he's done that. And these guys had better listen to him if they want to get there and do that. And, like you said, he's not out there to show up anybody or big league anybody. He gets out there, he manages the best way he knows how. And it seems like he's the guy that's going to be up front with you and be the real deal and say, hey, listen, we're doing this and here's why.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that's really humble. And, coming into the season, when you look at a 1998 World Series champion, a guy that's played with the Yankees and a couple organizations, you would have no idea that guy played in the big leagues if you talked to him. Very personable, very humble, and, very respectable guy. So I enjoy talking to him each and every game. Hopefully we could get some more post-game interviews after W's. But, yeah, I mean, he just brings that experience and, that kind of leadership to the squad, knowing that, hey, we have a World Series champion, in our dugout that's coaching us. And, we better listen to him, because he's been there, he's done that, and, he knows best.
I also like that he's in the same boat as the players. He's trying to cut his teeth. He's trying to prove himself as a manager. And that's what this draft league is about for the players, trying to prove themselves. So I think it's really beneficial having a manager that's kind of in that same mindset and in that same boat and trying to do some of the same things that the players are doing on the field.
Yeah, you're right. When you look around the league, all 6 teams have a former major league player as their manager. This past weekend, Jed Jerko, who was a major league all-star, played with the Cardinals for a couple of years. He's the manager for West Virginia. So JT Thomas, a guy that was in the minor leagues, was their pitching coach. So some guys that come to this league to get their first start, just like the players do. And, I think both the coaches and the players are on the same wavelength, knowing that, hey, this league isn't all about wins. But at the end of the day, we do want to get the victory on the scoreboard because that's why we're here. You want to win.
All right. So let's get to Richie a little bit. Now, you have had the opportunity to interview Scrappers players, professional players, and you've had the opportunity to interview the young guns, the true minor leaguers, the amateurs. Like last night, I had the opportunity to do 10, 11U. 12U interviews. What do you favor, or do you favor any interview over another from a standpoint of just personal preference?
I mean, one of my favorite person to interview is Dan Bertolini, obviously, because we have such a great bond and a great connection. And I feel like we feed off of each other very well. He knows, what I'm going to say, and we kind of feed off each other. But, going into an interview, it's very difficult with the Scrappers because I don't know a lot of these guys yet. So I'm, trying to get to know them. When I walked into the clubhouse after the games, I'm asking the guys that I've interviewed previous to find me the guys that I want to interview. Like, for example, I went up to Xavier Carter and I asked him, hey, can you find me Owen Jackson to get this interview after the game? Because, being up in the booth, I have binoculars and everything, but I don't know what these guys look like, unless I see them in person. So, getting to know these guys and build relationships with these guys, I think is key. And, as the season progresses, going to try and get as many player profiles and coaches corners as we can so we could get to know these guys a little bit better. I know they're super busy. They got games like every day. So, whenever they have, an afternoon or a morning available, we're going to try and get something going with them. But I think that's the biggest thing is, this is a completely new experience for me because, like, when you walk into the Youngstown State locker room, and you probably felt the same when you and Steve were calling the games, everybody, the faces, the personalities, and it's easy to grab interviews. But when you walk into a clubhouse of 40 guys and you might know 2 or 3 faces, it's pretty difficult to get interviews. But I think that's, the joy of doing this is, building new relationships with these guys and, getting to learn new personalities because these players and coaches span from all over the country. So it's really fun to see.
It's really interesting because Anthony, we have talked about it many times. Is a lot of times when we interview and do these long format interviews, these profiles or these coaches corners, it might be the first time that we've ever talked to these coaches, these players, and we don't know much. So we're flying blind like a bat. And essentially what you're doing is just digging, digging for nuggets of information. Richie, you do it with the best of them. And is that the biggest challenge for you is not knowing? Like, you can ask general baseball questions. That's not a problem for you. But asking like really good pointed questions after a game that aren't just, hey, how did you, go 3 for 3 tonight? Is that a challenge for you? And is that something you're still kind of learning and grinding on?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I catch myself all the time saying, what did you see at the plate? And I'm like, well, I mean, that wasn't the best question I could have asked, but, I try and, bounce back with something deeper. I mean, I asked Owen Jackson, like, what's your mental mindset right now? You come off of being the Division IV JUCO Player of the Year. You come out here in the first weekend and you're hitting like 667. So, I mean, what are you thinking mentally? I mean, it's kind of a lot of, background research and digging, a lot of trends in baseball because that's what the game's all about. So I try and, dig into that side, for Buck Anderson, try and mix in a few jokes here and there, get the guys laughing and, make them feel a little bit comfortable. So I think there's a good balance between being serious in an interview and also mixing up a little bit of humor. I mean, if you listen to the Buck Anderson one, I said that he had a full janitor throwing center field and he got a pretty good kick out of that. So, it's just the humor side that, you kind of want to break the ice with these guys.
All right. I wish I could joke with you, but one of the things that is a real deal is your brother, Josh Giuliano, is going to be a 2-time YSN All-Star as he accepted his invite to play on June 25th at Bob Sean Park. I mean, as big brother, I bust your chops a ton about Josh, but in all reality, you couldn't be more proud of him and what he's accomplished in his Cardinal career, and now going to The Ohio State University with essentially that entire Cardinal crew from Canfield going down there together. Talk about your brother and just how proud you are of him. And I have a follow-up question after you're done.
Okay. Super proud, to be honest. My 2 years at Canfield, we made to the regional final, and he's lived up to those expectations, and he's excelled more than I have when he's played at Canfield. First team All-State last year, and obviously this year hitting over 330 again. And unfortunately they couldn't get the victory against Niles, but he gave it all he had with that diving play in left field. Unfortunately couldn't come up with a play. And he's went through his ups and downs for sure, from the ups of being an All-State player back in 2021 to dropping that catch against Austintown Fitch. But I always try and remind him, those kind of plays when you drop that ball motivates you to be better and motivates you to not want that type of feeling again. So, that's a great learning lesson for him. And I couldn't be more proud of, how he's performed on the field and off the field as well. Being accepted into The Ohio State University is a very cool accomplishment, and, something that I didn't get the opportunity to do. I wanted to go to Youngstown State before Ohio State, so that ended up working out. But, I'm really proud of him on and off the field, and, hopefully he could get a job there at Ohio State and excel in the classroom. I wish he was playing some ball, but, that's not for everybody. He didn't want that opportunity. So, I wish him the best up there in, Columbus, and I'm for sure going to go up there and visit him and, watch some football games, hopefully the opener against Notre Dame. So, I'm really proud of him and, the way he's grown throughout the 2 years, because when he was a junior, there was some rumors of him not even making the varsity squad, to be honest with you. They were going to have him, up and down at JV and varsity. And, he really proved himself in that first week when Coach Niddle gave him that opportunity to start in the outfield. And, he took that spot and he ran with it. And that's all you need to do. And, that shows a lot about, his motivational factor towards, being a JV player. And he didn't want to do that as a junior. And who does? To be honest. But, he really stood up to the plate and he knocked it around that first week. So couldn't be more proud of what he's done over the last 2 years.
He's been absolutely phenomenal. The follow-up question, Richie, was there's some discrepancy out there of who would win in a fight between you and your brother. Now, you've told me you put him through a table, but in talking to him on the Toledo trip, he made it sound like he's got no problem taking you. So can you help us finally clear the air for this?
There's no chance he would take me in a fight.
What exactly would you do to him? Because I think that you guys have very similar body structure.
Yeah.
But what's your go-to move against him? Because I think he's got you beat athleticism right now.
He does, for sure. I haven't lifted in about 2 years, so my body's not as strong. I'm not as agile as I used to be, but I could still take him. It's just once you get in a fight, and we've fought for 12, 13 years since we were kids. We used to fight in the living room all the time just for fun on the couches, and we used to get yelled at and screamed at by our parents. But it's all for fun, and we've had some serious fights where we've actually went at it a little bit. But right now I don't see us ever getting in a fight ever again. But if we did, I think I'd be able to take him.
He disagreed. He told me, he's like, I would take him right now. There's not a doubt in the world that I would knock him out.
This guy yesterday, and I can't wait to say this so one of us could say it on the broadcast, he stood there on the porch for 15 minutes because there were raccoons near the trash can. And he didn't want to go out there because he thought the raccoons would attack him. So he made me go out there on the driveway with the flashlight and make sure there was no raccoons towards the garbage can.
And how did it go?
He ran down the street with the garbage can, put it down, ran through the grass, and leaped into the front door.
That's your all-star right there.
There's
that
your
is
all-star.
athleticism. So another story I heard along the way, and I hope you don't mind me bringing this up, was when I was on that Toledo trip, they informed me that there's like a baseball league or just a league in general based on like your community, like the people that are around your houses. And when you were young, you would actually announce those games, like to nobody, just like we see in bench warmers. True or false?
Oh, it's very true. That is true. I've been announcing since I could talk. I mean, I used to announce, the Indians and Guardians games that are on the TVs. I mean, I used to play Big Win Baseball, which is like this video game on your phone where, you make a lineup and they play. So I used to announce the 7 or 9 innings that was on my couch when I was a kid. I've been doing that since I was like 7 years old. And my parents always knew that I was, going to do this for a living because when I'd get my stick figures and play football, I would announce that, hitting each other. And I've been doing that forever. So, I mean, whether it be, local wiffle ball games or anything, I mean, even when I'm golfing, sometimes I'll say stuff. So,
No, we've been there already.
I've
Jeez.
always done that.
Yeah, we need to talk about that, by the way, because if you're ever talking my backswing again, I'm coming after you. You won't have to worry about Josh. I'll beat you with one of the raccoons. So I guess everybody wants to know because people don't realize that this is like your major league. This is your opportunity that you've announced YSU versus LSU. You've announced YSU. I mean, a lot of these. Now you're announced. Let's face it. You're being heard by people in the major leagues because they're actually looking at these cats to take the next level. What is it like to live your dream? You know what I mean? Like, I know that's a big question, but in reality, dude, you are living your dream each and every day.
Yeah, I mean, I can't, ask for a better opportunity each and every day. So excited to walk into that front gate every time I get the opportunity and, get that feeling and that high and that rush that you get before you're about to call a game or, during that big play. And, I was going through some pictures the other day because my brother's graduation party's coming up. And we actually have pictures of me and my best friends and, Josh and his best friends at the Scrappers games, when we were kids. And, we frequently visited that ballpark and, went there and bought hot dogs and Dippin' Dots and went in the fun zone. So, it's a really cool experience. And I never thought, when I was a kid that I'd get the opportunity to be there every single night and get to do the thing that I love and call that game. So, it's been an unbelievable experience throughout the first 4 games and couldn't ask for a better start because they're 4-0. So, I mean, I've got to do everything I've wanted to do with, player interviews and coaches interviews and, after the game and being able to interact with some of the fans that come up. And, Anthony and I were sitting there and, we had these little kids talking to us in between innings, a couple of youngsters that were playing baseball at Howland. So, that was a really cool experience because we're right there with the fans. I mean, if you sit in row Q in section 208, you're right there. You're going to be able to hear us every single pitch. So, it's been a pretty cool experience so far.
Well,
we asked you this before your first game, and I want an update. What's the food situation like in the press box, and how much did you put down this weekend?
I tried to limit myself because when you go on air with a full stomach, you're not going to have your best. In between innings, you're not going to be feeling as good. You're going to get tired towards the 6th or 7th. So they had some grilled chicken up there in the press box that I was taking advantage of, some beans and stuff. So. I was just eating
beans.
Yeah. But
Anthony Romo's like, oh my god,
poor Romo.
He wasn't there.
Poor Row Q.
No, I mean I was fine. It was just a limited portion. I knew
Listen, I have roomed with you. It probably was not as fine as you think it was.
Probably not. But the good thing is nobody was in the booth that day and the window was open.
Well, that's good news for you, but bad news for whoever was in front of you.
People in row 208, section Q.
They're going to be
They're sitting there like, what the?
What in tarnation is that smell?
No, but yeah, I've been able to limit my food capacity the last couple of days. I mean, I've been more focused on the broadcast and the food for sure. I mean, so it's been fun.
We appreciate you so much. You have no idea. Well, I think you do now. So just keep on doing what you're doing, man. We're looking forward to incorporating you more and more and more, and just keep kicking ass with the Scrappers because they love it. We love it. And I think everybody in the Mahoning Valley loves hearing your voice do great baseball. And that's what we got right now. So thanks, brother.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys.
Richie Giuliano joins us after his first weekend with the Mahoning Valley Scrappers as the voice of that team. And what a great weekend it was. They went 4-0. They got their first road trip tonight, and it's a 3-day road trip. They'll be back at home over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so you'll be able to hear Richie once again over the weekend for Scrappers baseball.
Yeah, and again, Richie, we are very fortunate to have him around in so many different capacities, and capacities that people won't know because he's going to be getting his hands dirty behind the scenes and doing some things with us. And he should be and will be a contributor on multiple shows, both Running Point and ours at Power Hour. So I'm excited. I mean, the kid's got so much talent, and obviously, he is the best at what he does. And there's no podium that can hold anybody else but Richie Giuliano right now, and we're so proud to have him on our team.
You're going to be in this press box tonight because you're calling the Mahoning Valley All-Star Classic from Eastwood Field tonight, and there's 12 baseball games on the network to go with you.
Oh, I'm going to take some Febreze, I think, after that conversation and with me. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to have to call Jordan and ask him what the plan is because we're supposed to get storms. And we'll check up with Class B and with Steve and make sure Q's on it, but as he typically is. But the reality is we're supposed to get a lot of rain here in this area. So we'll see how it goes. We'll keep our eyes peeled to the Storm Tracker 21 app and see what they have to say and obviously let it play out. But yeah, should be an all-star game tonight. If not, we'll see how it goes.
Let's look at that Storm Tracker 21 app. The chance of rain goes until 5 o'clock and it's like 50, 60, 80, 80 now, 50, 60, but then it goes away. So if we don't get hit hard by storms, I don't know. I'm not a meteorologist. I'm not Andrew DiPaolo over here. I'm
no,
not going to try
that was my spark yesterday. People need to stop beating up on meteorologists. Like, I don't know. I won't get into it because I'll go on a whole rant.
They're doing the best they can. It's
they
not
are.
Their fault.
Listen, being a meteorologist is like doing a bracket in March Madness. Like, how many people have a perfect bracket? If you don't have one, shut up, because that's essentially what they're doing with meteorology. Okay, like relax. Just
very educated guess, but it's still just a guess.
You can't get your T-ball game in tonight. Relax. Like take them for ice cream anyway. Like they probably deserve it, having to deal with someone who takes T-ball so damn serious in that capacity. So like I had so many people the other day just. Well, these meteorologists don't know what they're talking. Yes, they do. Like, do you know what they're talking about?
Do you? Well, if we can dodge rain, we'll have 12 games on the network tonight between Class B at Springfield and Pemberton and Scene Park. And we'll also have 2 games at the Field of Dreams for BCB. And if we're able to dodge rain, we'll have your all-star game from the Eastwood Field.
I love it. More games, the better. We know that. And obviously, YSN's the place to be because 12 games is 12 times more than you're getting anywhere else.
DJ, I appreciate your time to come on and help out while Ty had some power issues. And we're going to take a 22-hour break. We'll be back tomorrow from 12 to 2. Brian Tolnar with his second episode of Tolnar's Takes, and we're excited for that and what Brian has to say for next week. Scotty's coming into the studio as well. Me and Ty will be back together, and Casual Sports Podcast coming up next, Power Hour from 3 to 4. And I believe you have a pretty good guest coming on the Power Hour today.
Yeah, we have Alex Trezza from Game Changer. We're going to talk about Game Changer, the new partnership with YSN, and obviously all the things that they have going, because a national app that is the #1 ranked scorekeeping app in the world. You can download it for free. You can utilize it for free and be just like YSN and watch YSN broadcasts on the Game Changer app. So we're having Alex on. Looking forward to that conversation at 3 o'clock.
Could be fun, and enjoy everything tonight. And we'll see you back tomorrow from 12 to 2 on Running Point.